Hey, just wanted to give my opinion on the death penalty and solitary confinement. Personally, I'm opposed to the death penalty. I used to be for it, but I've changed my mind over the last year or two, mainly because of its inconsistencies. There's been a lot of people that have been taken off death row in recent years that have been in death row for years or decades that would have been executed, or people that were serving life sentences who could have gotten the death penalty but didn't, thankfully. And had they gotten the death penalty, they may not have been with us. But there have been people in the past that haven't executed that were innocent, and that's just too risky. And like I said, I mean, it's not really fair to say like, oh, because you were probably guilty, but we can't say with 100% certainty that you shouldn't get the death penalty. Whereas another person who just wasn't smart enough to sort of get away with it a little bit and cover their tracks, they should get the death penalty because they couldn't, hide it as much. So that's just not really fair. I think there's too many inconsistencies on who gets it and who doesn't. So I feel like I'm somewhat liberal when it comes to crime. I haven't had any relatives, thankfully, who have been murdered or been any real tragedy victims or of rapes or robberies or anything like that, or muggings or molesting or anything like that, thankfully. But I think I would be willing to forgive somebody if I felt like they were truly remorseful. So I don't feel like, even for serial killers, like I don't feel like they should get the death penalty. They should get life in prison without parole. Obviously, I believe in that. Um, but that's the maximum I think I'd go, and obviously they should be maximum security. Um, as far as solitary confinement, I generally don't believe in it because a lot of the people in solitary confinement, I feel, are not dangerous. I've watched some documentaries on it, and some of them, like sometimes there have been ones about escape artists who just get put in it for life because they've escaped so many times, and the jailers are just too lazy to keep a better eye on them. So the ones that are really dangerous or really crazy, some of them who should be in psych wards or mental hospitals anyway. Those people I think should be in solitary confinement indefinitely. But I think in general they should just be maximum or medium security or something like that, and they should just be kept a close eye on, obviously. And obviously, I believe in solitary confinement for short term. If somebody does something bad, like hurt somebody in prison, then they should go to solitary confinement. That should be one of their. I mean, they have the option to be. That should be one of their punishments. But it shouldn't be for years and years or for the rest of their lives or decades or anything like that. Um, Honestly, I don't think it should be more than like a few weeks. In general, like I said, obviously there are exceptions, but that's what I generally believe. I think that's rare. So I think it's way overused in the United States. As far as Guantanamo Bay goes in Cuba, that needs to be closed down. We need to bring all those detainees. We either need to release them, or we need to take them to trial, and if they get convicted, send them to prison. You can't put somebody in prison indefinitely. That's just not fair. You know, so that's mainly it. As far as prison sentences, I'm somewhat liberal again. I'm like I said, I think that murderers should all get life sentences, but I feel like I'm not big on plea deals. I'm not big on plea bargains. I feel like that's not really fair. There have been sentences where people have been offered, or they'll be like, okay, well, instead of getting life without parole, we'll offer you 20 years in prison. That's just, no, no, I don't care, because that's a deal to testify against your other conspirator or whatever, even though that you probably were guilty and they were less guilty than you. That's just unreliable. That's just inconsistent. It's not fair. So as far as that, I feel like there could be some plea deals with the non-violent ones, like the drugs and stuff like that, but not the violent ones. They can give a little bit shorter sentences, but nothing major. It should be just slightly shorter, maybe, but nothing too big in general. So, like I said, I'd say most murderers should get life sentences. I do believe in life with the possibility of parole. I'm a big believer in rehabilitation. Obviously, many can't be rehabilitated, whether they're murderers or rapists or any type of violent criminals. Um, you know, whatever. But I think they should at least have the possibility. I think if they are go up for parole hearing, they should not be denied more than 5 years before their next parole hearing, anywhere from 1 to 5. Now in California, it's been extended to 15 years, which I think is crazy. So I think there should be a little bit lighter. I think a lot of people, there are a lot of political prisoners out there, and so I think a lot of them, just because their case is famous, for example, like the Manson girls, I think they should be the. I think a lot of people should be given the chance to be free. And like I said, I think a lot of them are rehabilitated, but it's just too risky, for their safety and everything like that. But like I said, and there are some people that should get life without parole if they're crazy or they've killed, a bunch of people, serial killers, obviously, and then mass murderers and spree killers and all that, or just people have done, you know, heinous crimes, like eating people and stuff like that, they should never get out, obviously, because they'll risk it and do it again. So that's just how I feel about all those everything like that with the death penalty and the hardest of crimes. Like I said, the U.S. is pretty strict compared to most other countries, especially in Europe. I mean, the Middle East and Asia, they're pretty strict too, but like Latin America and Europe, they're pretty light. They don't really. Most of those places don't have life sentences. They usually get out or the death penalty. So yeah, that's most of my opinion. Like I said, I used to be for the death penalty on rare exceptions, but now in general, I don't believe it at all because I just think it's inconsistent. I think who are we to judge that people should get the death penalty and who shouldn't? I think it's a bit hypocritical that some religious people they're like, oh, we're against abortion, we're the pro-life party, the Republicans, but we're for the death penalty. We're for executing people just because they kill people. That's hypocritical. You can't kill killers just to say that killing is wrong because you're doing the exact same thing, whether it's a legal thing or not. So yeah, I feel like a lot of times, sometimes when cops will shoot people just because they feel like they deserve to die, I think in most cases they should at least give them the chance to give up, even though a lot of them want to die anyway. I don't believe in shooting people on sight. I feel like it should be, even because a lot of times that's what they want. And I also feel like the death penalty is easier than life in prison, and I want people to suffer for the rest of their lives. Obviously, they can have some type of, they should have some type of redemption. But I feel like, in general, people that do horrible crimes, they should suffer and sit in a cell for the rest of their lives, or for years and years at least. So, I just think the death penalty is a easier way out. I'd rather have the death penalty too than life in prison, probably. I wouldn't want to live like that. You know, so it just so yeah, and I think cops should give people more of the opportunity to give up as opposed to shooting people on sight. And like I said, I think that the death penalty, although people do deserve to die, I don't think it's our choice. If you do believe in God, then it should be God's choice, and that's up to you. Obviously, suicide is a whole different topic, and if you choose to take your life, that's your body. But as far as other people taking your life, that's just wrong, and I don't think it's our choice to make exceptions on who dies and who gets life or take any deals, because you're saying you're sorry even though you're just sorry you got caught. So, like I said, I'm not trying to make fun of the victims or help the killers or anything like that. I just feel like that's the right thing to do. Um, so yeah, that's my opinion on the death penalty. I have mixed feelings because, like I said, I'd want them to die, but at the same time, it shouldn't be me who decides that. It should be God or just the way the world is. So yeah, that's my opinion, and like I said, it's sort of something that's changed over the last couple of years, and I just feel like we need to be a little bit softer on certain things. But yeah, I think, like I said, and the death penalty, like I said, is a lot of times it's not used enough, whereas like certain states won't use it at all. Like California has only executed 13 people since 1978, and there's like over 700 people on death row. Texas and Virginia at least use it, and in other states, especially in the South and Midwest. So, but a lot of these states barely use it, like Colorado and all that. And then other states, of course, have it and use it regularly, and others don't use it at all because they don't have it. So, if you're going to use it, at least use it, because like the one myth is that people on death row are costing taxpayers money, but the reality is, in a lot of states where it's not used that much, it's actually costing the taxpayers more to keep them on death. To keep them in prison for life as opposed to death row, because they hardly ever execute anybody. Whereas when people are executing fast, it costs more money. But like for California, for example. So that's just one myth. You know. So that's pretty much it. And I'm not saying that the criminals shouldn't be punished either, by the way. But yeah, thanks for watching. This opinion is really something that's happened in the last couple of years or so. And like I said, even if something happened to me and a victim and my family was killed, I probably still wouldn't change my opinion. I'd be upset, I'd be mad, and I'd want them to die. But like I said, I'd probably still be willing to forgive. Hopefully, if like I said, if it hopefully won't happen to me, that would be karma. So, but all right, thanks for watching, and I've had a strong opinion, and talk to you later. Bye.